Hi, so it's been quite a while since we've done a video, and I can't remember if it's the last lockdown or in between the lockdowns. I bought a one-man tent for my solo camp so I can do it a bit more comfortably in winter, and because of all the lockdowns and stuff I've never actually set it up, so I thought I'd set it up in the garden, give you a little peek before I actually use it. Hopefully I'll get to use it soon. And I'm going to put a ground sheet down, just keep it clean because it's quite muddy and wet out here. It comes in a pretty cool little bag, roll top, so I haven't cheaped out on that. Holes, pegs. Apparently this is outer pitch first, but you can pitch both together. I'm just trying to follow the instructions from in here, but it's pretty simple. There's only one pole. Man, this pole is tight. This is tight. Wow. That was really, really tight. You've got to be quite strong to do that. get to this ring and get this plastic hook on there. I'll pretty much lie down to do that. So as you see, you've got those little toggles all the way up on the inner. You've got a good gap between the outer and the inner. And this is the door for the sleeping compartment. Nice bit of mesh at the top. As it's got its own little ground sheet on the porch, and if you want to put your muddy boots here, you could tuck that away, but you only really need a ground sheet, a separate ground sheet for the sleeping area. Try to attach the porch to the same pegs as the outer somewhere. And the sleeping compartment door rolls down, not up. And it's got a little toggle there. That's not great. The hoop is massive. Yeah, see, this is not a great design. Here, look how big that loop is. There's not that much material here, so literally, like, that could be a quarter of the size and it would be okay. So when you put that in, it generally, well, it's holding now, but it just pings off too easily. I'm not sure why they've made that so big. Maybe you could twist it a couple of times, make it smaller, something like that. It's a little bit awkward because with your now wet and muddy boots, you don't want to put them on the porch because the porch has got a nice clean sheet in it to keep your things off of the wet and mud, but then you're going to put wet muddy boots on top of it. I think you just have to unhook one corner. Let's try that. We unhook one corner. That gives us space for wet and muddy boots. And you've still got a bit of sheet here. Pull the fly sheet down. It's got 4 zips on this, so that you can have it. You can roll the door up, or you can have it come down. And then there's little pockets on the sides of the vestibule to kind of tuck it away, so you can zip it all over to one side and just tuck it in and have it open. Or you can roll it up, but there's nowhere to pin it up the top. So if you roll it up, you can't hold it up. I had to throw it over the top of the tent. What you could do though is use a couple of trekking poles or sticks to pin out that door. Yeah, I didn't pin it out far enough when I moved it. It does actually have a strap on the middle of the door as well to peg it out, but you'd have to do that from inside, which would be a little bit awkward if you're a bigger person. I think I can do it. There you go. But I'd peg those out more. The sides of the door aren't pegged out far enough. Anyway, let's see what this is like. It's sufficient. It's not massive. It's just enough. It's sufficient. And I'm only a small guy. There's quite a bit of length on it. I think there's enough length for someone maybe up to 6 foot max. At 6 foot, I think you're going to struggle a little bit. If you're under 6 foot, there's enough length. Not a lot of width. I have to look at the measurements. I'll put all the sort of details up on the screen rather than trying to reel them off from memory. But yeah, not very wide. And with this shut, let's test that actually. So with this shut, I can sort of sit up, but and there is a bit of gap at the top, but because of the tapering of that roof, the ceiling, my head's sort of constantly bashing against, rattling around between here. So I suppose if I was sitting up like that, I could read kind of hunched over a bit. If I sit up, I have to kind of lean to one side, so it's not really a tent for sitting up in inside the sleeping bit. And I'm, like I say, I'm quite short, so if you're taller than 5.5 foot, you're going to be like this. Put the door down, you have the option to swing around and do this, and now I can sit up perfectly fine. So to bring your head into the middle of the tent, you have to unzip the door to do that. Obviously in winter, maybe get a bit cold. I'd say let's try pinning this out a bit better, and then I'll show you the space from inside again. Better. So all in all, I think this is a bloody good tent for the money. You remember, this is a budget tent. I have to look up the exact amount I got it for in the end. It was about 50-60 quid. And you know, there's not a lot of one-man tents like this. There's kind of one-man tents that are like tunnel tents, like from OEX, as well as the Bobcat. Sorry, this is the Bobcat. The Fox 1 and Fox 2 even, which is a very small two-man tent. The Fox 1 is like tiny, just a little bit bigger than a hoop bivvy. But both of them are very low. I don't think you'd be able to sit up like this at all in those. Even from the bigger brands, you tend to see a lot of tunnel tents when they're one-manners. And you know, tunnel tents can take the weather very well. Till I test it, I don't know how well this can take the weather, because it's like this. I mean, the wind's just going to bash it from both sides, but I'd hope that it would slide up it. If the wind's coming from me, one of the long ends, it's going to be fine. A lot of thought has gone into the design. Like, it is a pretty spot on design. The only thing I'd say is that pole was a bitch to get in. I'm hoping that after a while maybe things will kind of loosen up a bit and it'll be a bit easier. Obviously I can do it, but I was afraid it was going to rip. I've heard that in a lot of reviews before. It was a long way. I was like pulling it tight and it was still a long way off. I really had to go for it. It was a bit of a nerve-wracking moment for breaking it. But you know, it's got the ground sheet in the porch. You don't normally get that on budget tents. It's got 4 zips on that outer door, so you could literally have it up, down, tuck it to one side, tuck it to the other side if you want. Just what you need is a sleeping compartment, no more. And I think it'll be pretty good for winter, because it's got the mesh on the door, the top of the door, for a bit of ventilation. Apart from that, it's all this kind of slightly denser, typical inner material kind of thing, really. It's supposed to be quite waterproof. Like I say, I put statistics up rather than try and reel them off. Zippers are really smooth. Like, most of the time they don't really need 2 hands to do. You can just grab it and pull it, which is quite refreshing. The tensioners on the guy lines are really good. They seem to work well. Everything's attached, and now I've attached the inner. When I actually go camping, I won't have to do that again. I can leave that attached and just roll it all up together. So it's literally just slip one pole in, peg down the ends, and then go on the corners. A little tip, which I kind of thought of, I've learned from setting up tarps, is that once you put the pole in, if you do opposite corners first, peg down that corner, like the back right and the top left or something like that, that will hold it up, and then you can do the other corners. If you do the 2 back ones, it's still going to fall backwards on you. You have to keep trying to hold it. So go for opposite corners first, and that will hold it up. Now, because there's other videos on YouTube already about this tent, I don't think I need to go into too much detail, covering the same old ground as the other videos, but just a quick little whip around. Obviously you've got pocket, I mean that's pretty standard stuff. These are the pockets for the door on both sides. As you see, I've just pulled that, like I showed you before. Now you can hook that out, but I've just pulled this back to create a grassy bit for my wet boots. And because you've got all this, you can put your feet down here, leave, you know, your bag on a nice dry bit of ground. Maybe your cook set you'll want out here as well. Just don't put it on there in case you burn that. The 2 pegs I've got here are for 2 more guy lines. You can see it hanging down there. I just didn't do them because I'm only in the back garden, so that's a bit over the top. Another pocket at that end, and a little ring for hanging a light or a head torch or something. So like I say, everything's been thought through here. It's really simple to put up. It's just 1 pole, peg it out, do the guy lines, and that's it really. The first time round, like I say, it was I had to put the inner in, and even that wasn't difficult. And now it's done. I'll never have to do it again, unless I choose to separate them for whatever reason. It's quite light as well, and it's very compact. So hopefully when this lockdown ends, we go back to a bit of normality, I can get out and do a wild camp before the spring, do a nice winter wild camp. So I packed the tent away, and it started to hail, so I kind of had to rush it a bit. Didn't really have time to film it, and getting that pole back out of one end again was even worse than trying to get it in. It took all my strength several times to reach. I couldn't even figure out how it was going to happen at one point. I got it out in the end, so I'm going to have to do it a few more times and see if there's a knack to it. But anyway, hopefully this lockdown will end soon, things will get back to some sort of normality, and we can get out and do, you know, a little bit of an adventure again, and give you a bit more of a fun video. Until then, hopefully I'll do a few more sort of reviews and whatever I can do whilst we're in this situation. Good luck to everyone. Thanks for watching. Wow.